I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to our reading and writing class, and I'm your teacher, Miss Marine Pinilor Benduan. Are you ready for our today's discussion? Make sure you have prepared all of the materials before we start with our discussion. Module week number 7, your notebook, and your pen. So today you're going to talk about a skill that everyone needs to be aware of. And here is a competency that we need to master. Determines textual evidence to validate assertions and counterclaims made about a text read. Also, the following objectives that you must attain after discussion are the following. Students are expected to identify the meaning and how to find textual evidence, use textual evidence to make inference, and determine textual evidence to validate. Before we proceed to our discussion, let us examine the pictures and figure out what happened by identifying if it is a murder or suicide. If you can answer these picture readers correctly, you will make a great detective. Let's see if your answers are correct. Let's start with the first picture. In the given picture, you will see a scenario in which a person is dead and there are things lying around from which your investigation started. So, after looking at the picture thoroughly, what is your answer? If your answer is murder, you are correct. But what are your evidence? First one, the crutches are kept away from the man. Number two, there are two glasses on the table, hinting or showing that two people were present in the room. Third evidence, the book and pen on the bed indicates that the person was actually reading before this happened. However, there's a separate pen along with a note on the study table which could be planted by the murderer. Last evidence, some signs of struggle as the clock is broken and is on the floor. Good job to those who got the answers correct. Let's proceed to the second picture. In this picture, you will see a dead body and some clues. If your answer is murder, you are correct. It looks like a murder because of the following reasons or evidence. First one, signs of struggle in the room. Second evidence, the bullet wound is in the chest. Normally in suicide, it is in the head. Our last evidence, the man seems to be left-handed as all the things of use are on the left side, just like his phone and his pen. But the gun is on the right-hand side. Do we have the same answers? You're doing great. For the last picture, what is your answer? If you choose murder, you got it right. This looks like a murder because of the few hints that are present in the picture, which are the following. Number 1. We see signs of struggle in the room. Number 2. The gun is in the right hand, even though the victim seems to be left-handed, as all his essential things like laptop and glass of water are placed on his left. Last evidence. The man, probably the murder suspect, has jumped out the open window to escape. Way to go, detectives! See, from the pictures that were provided, you have come up with the pieces of evidence to support your stand. But what is an evidence? An evidence is essentially a proof. It's the facts that help you know that something is true. With our activity, do you already have an idea on what is our topic all about? Very good. Our topic for today is all about finding textual evidence. Same as with your reading and writing, there are also certain pieces of information from a text that you just have read that would back up or support your claim or stand. It might support your beliefs, your opinions, your inferences from a text that you have read. Based from our activity, can you already define the meaning of textual evidence? Textual evidence refers to an information you find or a part of a selection that helps support your answer. This information or evidence is taken word for word exactly how it was written, and we make use of quotation marks. Now, why is it necessary or important to learn this skill? If we know how to back up our claim, it makes it valid, reliable, and a strong one. You being able to back up your claim proves that you have understood the text that you have read. But how do we find an evidence in a text? Do you know some ways how to do it? You can easily remember the different ways on how to find textual evidence by remembering the phrase, prove it. Every letter stands for one particular technique or a way on how to find textual evidence. Now, on your pen and paper, you will be given 3 minutes to think of a word or phrase that will suit every letter, which will refer to ways on finding evidence in a text. Now, let us see if we have the same answers. The first one is P, which refers to paragraph or passage. Did you get it right? Now, how do we do that? This means that your evidence must be found somewhere in the passage, and this particular paragraph found in the passage could be used to support your opinion, your beliefs, or interpretation of that particular text. Question: do you have to stop reading the text once you find the evidence? If your answer is no, you are right. It doesn't mean that if you already found an evidence on the first paragraph, on the first page, you have to stop reading the selection. Finish reading the text to know if you have understood and found the right evidence. Next letter stands for reference. Is this your answer too? This next way in finding textual evidence is simply trying to reference or trying to pinpoint an exact location of your evidence or an idea that would back up your point or your claim. You can make use of the phrases on page, intersection, and it says in paragraph blank, on page blank, that. That technique is what we call referencing. Next letter is O, which stands for offers support. For those who got the right answer, good job! You have to remember that just because the piece of evidence is in the selection, it does not necessarily mean you can just pick a random sentence and claim it as your evidence. You cannot just pick sentence number 13 and paragraph 2 just because it is a part of the text. You have to read the selection to identify a certain part of it that can be presented as your evidence and make sure it has the connection or supports your idea. You can make use of the phrases, "the reason I think is because," where you mention your claim and provide the evidence from the text. Another one, "the author shows this by inserting the connection to the evidence." Next letter is for the view of the author. Who guessed it right? This is very important because the view of the author is a clear manifestation of his or her objective. How the author presents and provides information is a clear manifestation of his or her objectives of writing the text. So, when you use the author's view in finding textual evidence, you always need to link it back or connect it to his or her objective. What was the objective of the author in writing the text or the selection? Does it match with how he or she views the information that he or she presented? You can make use of the phrases "the author stated" and "for instance, the author states." Next letter is E, which stands for "eyes can see it." If the eyes can see it, definitely it can be considered as textual evidence. Do we have the same answer? If you can read or physically see it in the text and was able to establish a relationship, and you know this would clearly support whatever your interpretation is, beliefs, or opinion of that particular text, then that could be used as a piece of evidence. You can make use of the phrases "the text directly states that," "in the text it explicitly states that." There are also certain things that are not directly stated but rather implied when you are reading a text. The next letter is I, which stands for inference. Is your answer correct? Those pieces of information will direct you to make an inference by using clues to figure it out. And you need to know that those inferences might be valid as long as they are supported with other pieces of information from the text. You can make use of the phrases "I think blank because blank" and "I can infer from blank that blank." Last but not the least are the text features. Do we have the same answer? Text features are very important because they are considered markers of information. This refers to any specific parts or characteristics that stand out from the rest, included by the authors to help the readers understand the text better. The examples of text features are the following: the title of the text, which provides clue or idea on what is the text all about. Charts and tables are also pieces of evidence to support your idea. And illustrations and drawings that will support your claim or your stand. You can make use of the phrases "the illustration shows," "according to the title," and "the graphic showed." Now let's try to apply what we have learned in our discussion. Here we have a poem entitled "The Happy Ship" by Wilfred Thorley. What do we see in the selection? If you say title, author, and illustration, you are correct. Now, the setting is being asked here. So usually, the setting is found at the beginning part of a selection. Now let's try to find it out by reading the poem. Have you seen the setting of the poem? If your answer is night and meadow, you are correct. On the first two lines of the poem, a clue on the setting is already found. Just a reminder, doesn't mean you found it already at the beginning or just few lines of the text. You will stop reading the whole selection. Now that we have found the evidence, we may now write our answer, and that would be the author states, all through the night, the happy sheep lie in the meadow grass asleep. The author has directly stated the setting of the poem. As you can see, the lines where the answer was found is indicated in our evidence. Also, we have to make sure that we are using the appropriate writing prompt. Here is another text. Let's read. After reading the text, what do you think happened to the two boys? For example, if we infer that Ariel and Richard were fighting, we must provide textual evidence to support that inference. What would be the possible evidence that the two students fought? If you answer the words angry, sneered, and principal's office, you got it right. Let's construct our claim and provide our evidence. Here is our claim. I can infer that Richard and Ariel got into a fight on the playground. Why? This will be supported with the following evidence. First, they are sitting outside the principal's office. This was directly stated in the text. And most of the time, kids who sit outside the principal's office have gotten into trouble. Therefore, they must have done something wrong. Our second evidence, Ariel is sneering at Richard. A sneer is a mean way to look at someone. Therefore, I can assume that Ariel is angry. Our last evidence is Richard glaring at Ariel as well. If Richard is angry too, they must have gotten into a fight on the playground. See, students, we were able to respond effectively to the text we are reading and was able to make an inference providing our pieces of evidence. I hope we learned the importance of this skill because without text evidence, you are making an empty claim without any support to back them up. This ends our discussion for today. May I know if you have understood this lesson by completing the following statement. First one, I can define textual evidence as finding support or the proof from the author or writer of a text to support or back up our facts and opinions. Our second statement, how do we find textual evidence? Our answer, by following the phrase, prove it, where P stands for paragraph or passage, R stands for reference, O offers support, V stands for view of the author, letter E, I can see it, I, inference, and T for text pictures. Third statement, how can I use textual evidence to make inference? I can use textual evidence to make inference by combining the textual evidence with my personal experience. For our last question, how do you think learning the skill finding textual evidence will help us in our everyday lives? Do you think people will immediately believe anything they see, they read, or hear? If you have a stand about a certain issue, but you cannot provide any evidence to support your idea, that makes you an unreliable writer. Why? It is because you don't have any proof that what you're trying to say is a valid interpretation. It doesn't mean that when you read something, whether it is a Facebook post, it's a blog, text messages, or news, which happens daily in our lives, you have to believe it right away. What you have to do, you have to read it critically and avoid being a victim of fake news by looking for proof that makes that claim, the message, the news, the post a valid interpretation or a factual information. To furtherly enhance our critical thinking skills in finding textual evidence, please refer to the link provided in our class GC to answer your quiz for our today's discussion. Good luck! For your assignment, please prepare for your last long test for the quarter by reviewing lessons 5, 6, and 7. You may refer to our YouTube channel for our video lessons and our Google Classrooms for our modules. If you have concerns regarding our lesson or our today's worksheet, just message me on my Facebook account or through our class GC. Once again, I am Miss Maureen Pinorvenduan and I hope to see you in our next discussion.